Hi, I'm Ted Haftegabber, founder and producer of Live Talks Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us. Since we started over a decade ago, we have brought you hundreds of conversations with storytellers, writers, actors, musicians, humorists, chefs, and thought leaders in business and science. You can watch and hear most of these in our YouTube channel and our podcast. For details, visit livetalksla.org. And now, here's the show you've tuned in to see.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I prepared questions because I dive deep and I've thought highly of Jerry Saltz, as we'll get into, as many of us here. Thank you for all coming here. You know, LA rain is like a blizzard anywhere else. So this is major rain. So thank you all.
I love it. I love it. I feel like I'm on my home court, and I love, because I hate all people in LA because
well, that's an awkward way to start the conversation.
Because you live in paradise.
Yes.
And every time you're in New York, you say to us, "Oh, I love it here, man. I love it." And every time you get back on the plane, you always say to yourself, "Get me the fuck out of this place."
Yep. Yeah.
So,
yeah. See you, cold East Coast. So I put some questions together, but I think at some point we will just start talking because we've been having a great chat backstage, and I'm glad you all got the book. It's a great book. I dove deep into it the last couple days, starting a few weeks ago. So I'm gonna start with some formal questions, Jerry, and we'll go from there. Okay?
please, thank you.
I'll quote from you at the beginning of the book, the chapter "Art is Life." Art is the greatest operating system of our species has ever invented, a means of exploring consciousness, seen and unseen worlds. It's an instrument, medium, matrix, or miracle that transform old impressions into new thoughts, that makes 1,000 insignificant details light up and draw you out. Art is bigger than mere subject matter. It is as big as life. Can you expand on this thought, because that excitement and what you brought to it, just to set the tone for the evening tonight?
Yeah. I love that you all came out tonight. It's always hard to show up because it means you wanted to show up. And as a basically bashful person, to me that means a lot. Because I know that if you call me right before dinner or any time before dinner and go, "No dinner tonight," I always say, I'll say to you, "Oh, damn." But inside I'm like, yes! Thank God that I don't have to leave my apartment again. So it means a lot to me that you all came. Art is the greatest operating system our species has ever developed to investigate consciousness. It may be one of the only operating systems that's been in existence since the second it was born. If you think about translating the three-dimensional and the zero-dimensional world of your inner life into material, of embedding thought, of embedding feeling, of embedding consciousness itself into material, and have it speak to other people. Art may be the only way that other people can see how you see. Mm-hmm. So when you make a bad piece of art, and I've looked at your art.
Are we going there now?
We're going there.
Right.
I've looked at all your work.
Yeah,
I got your names.
Exactly.
I'm taking names.
I thought that was later
No.
in the end. Yeah.
I can see a lot of things, just so many things, because these invisible codes that we've been speaking now, not just for 40,000 years of recorded prehistory, but we can't forget that if only 1% of 1% of 1% of all cave paintings exist today, that means we lost another, say, 100,000 years of them, roughly. And that for 1 million years before that, a species that came before us made art. They're called Neanderthal. They had a material culture. They had to speak a language. To when they were tracking herds, they would meet each other, and your tribe would give me flint, yours would give me a sharper stone, theirs would give me pigment. And we were using these to make tools. Tools that do a lot of things. They skin fish, help you hunt, many things, and these tools we are now finding were painted. Why? Well, because this is who we are. I think, to make a long story short, consciousness, in a way, is taking pleasure in itself through us, through you, embedding your consciousness in whatever materials. And Irwin, if you don't know, works in a lot of materials: photography, film, architecture. I'm forgetting a lot. Design, I really am, because he's like one of these Renaissance guys. You know, they know how to do everything. I don't remember what I was saying, but
Keep it positive.
yeah.
So I'll relate to this. So we're talking about being an artist. I want to give some background and context about Jerry, and I don't know if everyone knows that you were an artist. You call yourself a failed artist. And I always viewed you as, well, we saw you at the Vulture event when you were speaking about that. I wasn't aware of that at the time. And I view you as kind of a modern-day Vasari. I hope that's a compliment, because Vasari painted, but his paintings they're paintings. But what he was known for was really telling all the gossip about Caravaggio killing people in the tennis courts and all the great things that happened. What struck me in this part of the book was you own what you called your failure as an artist. You speak about the struggles and the chances for survival as an artist that you must have to exist. Can you expand on this? Because this is something that, you're talking about me, but for this audience, I'm sure there's plenty of artists, and this is the question they always ask, is that struggle and what's internal and all the stuff that isn't seen on Instagram and shared with the world. How do you get through that? Because you dealt with that in your own life.
Right. First of all, Vasari, every word he wrote is a lie. And he's a great writer, great stylist. He wrote Michelangelo's biography, being paid to write it. Michelangelo didn't like it. He said, I'm much better than that. And he paid somebody else to write it. So, artists, you have to remember that artists, never mind. Everybody is insecure. No one doesn't have demons. I have demons, you have demons, you have demons. They say to us more or less the same things. You don't know what you're doing. You have terrible ankles. You don't know how to schmooze. You have no money. You didn't go to the right schools. And these things are forever, right? I'm a fake. Why should I be able to make... I'm 71 years old now. I didn't start writing until I was 40. Do all of you know this? Should I not go over that part?
No, you should go over this.
I have no degrees, so do not listen to me. I do wish I had gone to school. People always say, well, don't you think then... First of all, school is a horrendous, unforgivable ripoff right now. Unforgivable. I'm not against tenure, but I'd like to say I am, because geezers like me fucking never give up their jobs. And they start fucking up institutions, excuse my... Anyway, I've never had tenure, so I'm yelling at everyone else, obviously, and being envious. I started making art, and then I heard the same demons that you heard last night at 3:15 a.m. The same ones. No different. I'm 71, and the goddamn thing is still there. It lives in my mouth. You wake up at 3:15, and it goes, yeah, Irwin, your work is bottoming out. You don't have an original idea about perspective or whatever the hell project you're working on now. And I listen to the demons, and I don't want anybody in this room to listen to those demons, because I went to hell. I self-exiled and became a long-distance truck driver, the only Jewish one. Huh?
Wild, yeah.
Huh?
Right?
My CB handle really was the Jewish cowboy. And I would get on and go, "Shalom, partner. Would you like to talk about the late work of Richard Sarah Niner?" And no one ever spoke to me once. And I became so miserable in these trucks, so alone. You think I saw the world. I've driven almost 1 million miles, and I've seen nothing. I saw 100 yards to one side of the truck and 100. Mm-hmm. Men are very limited beings, and my deep maleness took over in these trucks, where I thought, I must only go from point A to point B. I must never stop between. I must be on time, right? And that's all I did. I drove up and down, back and forth, and I saw nothing. Nothing. There's no inner life. Scenery to me, I now understand, is repeated death. You think you're thinking, but you're not thinking. It's a passive form of being. Anyway, in the trucks, I became so miserable. And I never stopped going to art shows. I love the art world. I live for it.
Were you based in New York still?
I lived in New York City. I'd moved there from Chicago. I do believe if you're on a coast, like you lucky bastards here, always try to stay on a coast. I recommend that because I'm from the middle of the country and it can seduce you. It's an easier life in there, but you'll lose some years maybe. Anyway, I moved to New York. Self-exiles, never stopped going to shows, talking to artists, but I hated everyone. I was riddled with envy. If you all leave this building tonight, I want you to promise me to make an enemy of envy. Make an enemy of envy tonight, because it will eat you alive. It ate me alive. I couldn't walk around New York City. You must have that a lot in LA, where you look at everyone's real estate and go, fuck you. How come you're at lunch now and I'm at work? How does everybody not have a job?
That goes for any real estate in LA right now. That goes for a studio apartment in LA right
Yes, this is one of the most financially or economically divided cities in the world. Now, let's not kid ourselves. And New York is one too. In the trucks, I decided what all of you have to decide, that anything would be better than feeling this bad about myself all the time. Because I was going to feel this bad anyway. I started teaching. I taught myself to write by reading art form in the trucks. I would bring a pile. And maybe I've said this before, but I would read them, and they would read something like this, because they still do. The late commodified object of capitalism, post-Marx, finds itself lost in the liminal space, in the simulacra, but not in touch with the interrogation of nature and culture.
You did this while driving. It's so dangerous.
And I'd go, what the fuck? I still don't understand art form, but it is our porn magazine. Yeah, you've got to look at it.
I was going to say, most truck drivers were reading porn, but you were reading art form.
Yeah, they were reading jugs, and I was reading art form. Anyway, I learned to write that way, and then finally what I want all of you to do by accident. Deadlines are sent to us from heaven via hell. I have pride in never missing a deadline. Do you miss deadlines?
No.
God damn it, that's important to me. But who cares what's important to me? You might miss deadlines, it's fine with me. Anyway, I was procrastinating just like you, just like everybody in the room, and it was too late, and I've had to turn in this review, and I accidentally did two things. I wrote in my own voice the way I talk, the way I wrote the way a phone conversation or text conversation goes, and I also did something that critics have now stopped doing, and I'd love to talk about this later, which is I offered not only what I liked about your work, but what I didn't, and why, and tried to support it. And that began a big thing, and I understood that I was not writing for the art world. I was writing for the reader. I wanted to be read, not loved. So what I think I want all of you to do is do not be out there wanting to be loved, because every work of art, and I'll be done with this fucking answer in a while, every work of art is basically looking at you and going, I saw you look at me out of the corner of your eye. Come here. Come closer. I love you. You love me. I want to come home with you. Yes, you want love, but what you want is credibility. If you write as yourself, if you make art and fail flamboyantly as yourself, if you fail as yourself, you will have credibility, respect, pride. You will feel like I failed doing what I was pretty sure I wanted to do. You have to understand, everything I write, I think I'm fucking bulletproof. Like, no one could write an Alexander Calder review this good, I think, when I turn one in. And then in my Instagram or Twitter, somebody will make a comment about the review that has an amazing idea. I'm sure this has happened to you. And you go, shit! Why didn't I think of that? Whole thing is ruined, and you begin again.
Well, you do have a Pulitzer, so
I got a Pulitzer Prize.
Some of it does work out.
Yeah. One thing I would tell all of you, before, and I'll finish this, how do I get through that? How do we all get through that?
Yeah.
You make an enemy of envy, you big fucking babies. Where's the novelist I was speaking to earlier? I see you. You and somebody else. I can't see with this light. All of you artists, finish the damn thing. Finish it. It will never be perfect. It may not be that good. If you're a painter, you'll be running after the truck, taking your work to the goddamn gallery going, I could make this better. That alienated majesty, that moment that comes to you just before you finish something and the best idea comes and you put it in. Some of my best ideas I didn't have for like the whole time writing it, and then I wrote one thing and went send. Finish the damn thing. Don't be working on a lifelong goddamn project. You're not ready for that. If you don't have the money, find a cheaper way to do it. I'm sorry you're not rich. You're never going to be rich. You can marry for money. Good. I believe that artists should be sociopaths. I'm not interested in people. Ugh. That's so intimate. But what I'm interested in is if you can embed yourself in material that communicates through me. So, you're never going to make money, so just do your work, finish the damn thing, make an enemy of envy, and when you're up in the middle of the night and your suicide meter, I say that metaphorically, is going, you didn't go to the right schools, your hair's no good at all. You know, you really don't know art history. You don't know how to draw. You know what I want all of you artists to do in this room, all you writers? Right here. Do not wake up the person next to you, for fuck's sake. That's over. You're a baby. Don't keep doing that to them. When you get right here, you go, I don't have the money, I don't live in the right place, I don't have enough time, my real estate's no good, my tools are no good, my skills. Right here you go, but I'm a fucking genius. You have to have psychopathic belief in yourself.
That's great.
You really do, because no one else is thinking about you ever. Ever. No matter how bad your novel is, the woman I was speaking to, the truth is, no one's thinking about it. We're dancing naked in public for each other because we're fucked up. Most people are at home, unlike you losers, dancing naked alone or just kissing their mates and their dogs. We needed to do something else. Should I finish?
Yeah.
Thank you. He saved my ass.
That was great. Let's dive into, what is art? So I think of you after coming off of driving, and you started writing, and with that inspiration from Art Forum, and in the afterword, you talk about your beginnings in writing. But there's a chapter on the changing world of art. You write about this changing world of what we find in galleries and museums. And I think it would affect a lot of the people in this room who are creatives. That started to be open to artists who were long ignored by these institutions. Artists of color, trans and non-binary artists, self-taught and disabled creators, artists from indigenous cultures, street artists, older artists, and long overlooked deceased artists. Ceramics, tapestry, and other mediums long considered crafts assumed equal footing with painting, sculpture, and the like. I mean, that's the shift we're seeing, is not just what is art, but there's a whole other world that has emerged. You were at LACMA today. I saw your video this afternoon. Let's talk about that. What is out there? What's different from my world of when I was at RISD, when you were teaching there, and it was painting, sculpture. There was, I don't know, top 5, and that was about it.
Yes.
There's a lot of other things now.
He went to RISD, great school. I taught there. God, has the art world changed, hasn't it? Oh, you hate it too. Don't we all hate it? That's our job. It's an all-volunteer army. If you don't like the art world, there's the door, okay? Here's what happened. There were 2 pandemics. The first was in March 2020, when the angel of death walked among us with COVID. 1 million Americans died, more will die. Some of you may know people that died. And we all went inside and returned to the conditions of the caves I was talking about. Mm-hmm. You were making art out of whatever was close at hand. You didn't know it, but that in every cell in your body, Darwin did not say it is evolution, a survival of the fittest. Darwin said it's survival of those most able to adapt. You understand? Because if only the strong survived, what is that? You know? There would be no Jews. There'd be no men.
This would be a
really.
Short conversation on this stage.
Right. There'd be no men. They're insecure. They don't have an inner life. Nothing happens for them. I'm an excellent parallel parker, though. Fuck you. You were also making art in those conditions out of whatever was at hand, changing your own DNA, and also doing it in a condition like the caves, your studio, your bedroom, your office, your bed. Nana was in the back taking care of the kids. The dog is here. All these rooms became one room. One room, the way it was, probably for over 100,000 years until very, very recently. And art was being embedded. You were making things then, and we were all alone, secretly loving it. A little worried about how much we loved being away.
It's what we did in COVID, right? We're not returning to the office. It's that whole vibe of...
Well, the office thing, your generation's killing me. All the kids at New York Magazine said, we're not coming back, Jerry. I said, you're suburban socialists. You're PG-13 socialists. But anyway, I'm like a Maoist centrist,
right.
is what
I'm trying to keep it positive on the side.
Then the second pandemic happened. As the angel of death was on the streets, George Floyd was murdered. Everybody went back outside, especially people younger than me at 71. Especially. I'd never seen anything like it, and I was at the 1968 political convention. I was at all these fucking things, all of them, and I've never seen anything like this. And it happened. It's very simple. Nobody in the art world's ever been conservative, as it were. We've talked the talk, but we all know we never walk the walk. Mm-hmm. Ugh. You really want to show women? You're positive. Won't they ruin art history some? You know, we were so psychotic that we believed modernism made great art, but the ism, when you think about it, is psychotic and male. We actually believed that art history was linear. That this begat that, begat this. You start with the Delacroix, Jericho, you take a left at Delacroix, go out to Corbeil, go over the hill called Manet, into all French and all male, fuck off, and until you get over the hill, and then you hit Monet, those guys, and take a big right at Van Gogh and Gauguin and Seurat until you get to fucking Cézanne, right? We believe that. And men used to say, I am making the last painting that can logically be made. Where does that idea come from? We have whole museums for it. It's called the Museum of Modern Art. Great art there. And for the first time in our history, in my lifetime, art history, in short, is being rewritten in the present.
Yep.
I went to LACMA. You may hate it, you may like it. Fucking place is a mess sometimes. Sometimes it's great. And don't just be a booster of your own place. Boosters can mess up a system. You have to be able to be self-critical. Like, you can't love everything because it's here in LA and we just love it here and we want it to be the best and fuck New York. And I saw 5 shows. I can't remember what they were, right? Something about Korean modernists, some African American modernism. What else?
Did you see the ceramic show?
Ceramics. Transcendentalists, other than just Agnes Pelton, who we led in art history a few years ago. And about 5 shows. Let's just say they were no good. Every one, I realized, you could take down every painting at MoMA except, say, 20. You leave a Picasso. Matisse is a nice guy. You leave them and put these bad artists in those shows, and you would tell an extraordinary story of modernism, the same period of time of things happening in Haiti, Korea, every place. And it was tremendous. They just had the Venice Biennale. I'm so sorry, Irwin, but I didn't get to go.
My wife went.
You went?
90% women, right?
90%. And did you hate the show? It was amazing.
It worked out even with women artists?
Yeah.
He was going to make that joke before me, and that's not my opinion.
I love him too. For years, I wrote that, and it was great. I always said, if you make a show 51% women, it's not going to be any better or any worse. It really won't be.
Right.
The same thing. We worry now. Oh, you're letting in all these artists of color and art, Ecuadorian artists, Jerry, and women and outsiders, ceramicists. And what I would say to you is a couple of things. And that you would say, oh, but so much of it is mediocre. That's what you're all saying at home. Only I'm stuck with this job where I have to say it out loud. The answer, when you say much of it is mediocre, my answer is yes, it is. 85% of the art you see is crap. 85% of the art made in the Renaissance was crap. Quality may be a cosmic constant of some kind. We just never see the art. The bad art of the Renaissance, it all disappeared. When you go to the damn Met, this has been the most pre-screened, greatest art ever made. You walk past 1,000 pieces. 1,000, you go, that Mannerist shit is boring, or whatever. What I'll tell you in all of your worries is what I, again, for the 100th time learned today, Irwin, that the good stuff, the bad gets weeded out. I'm 71, like I said, and I've learned something. The mediocre falls away. It just falls away. And you're usually left with a pretty reasonably good mix of pretty good stuff. So I would say, unwad your shorts, art world. Take the stick out of your sphincters, museums. Art history, you can either get out of the way or you can lend a hand, right? This is happening on your watch. I won't be here to see it done. It's going to be done badly everywhere for a long time. It took a long time to get art history to be 99.9% male. It took a long time for that. It might take a while to get the damn pendulum back just a little, and men being what we are, no, we're not done with you yet. We have ideas to take you out again. Anyway, that was made up because I got nervous.
Well, that was part of this chapter about portraiture and representation. I mean, I think your trip today showed what happened, which is unless that representation's there, you say these artists are actively excavating the intrinsic intelligence, narrative potential, formal implications, and semiotics of portraiture. The most important, museum goers are seeing lives and faces that have never appeared in museums before. That's the difference. Growing up in the 70s in the Boston MFA, I didn't see the kind of paintings we'd see at LACMA in 2022 or 23. So that is the changing, unless we make that move towards having more of this. So Michael Gove did a good thing, at least.
Michael Gove did a good thing. He did the two worst things ever done in my lifetime in the art world. He helped bankrupt the Guggenheim Museum. I'm friends with him. He laughs at me about this all the time. The Guggenheim is still recovering. Michael Gove is also the person that shuttered the Dia in Chelsea. And I find that unforgivable. 2 generations went without Dia Foundation exhibitions. But I think he's recovered great, really great. And I'm sure he would say, I've done 2 of the worst things too. I would say that these are discredited narratives that we're getting, right? They're interrupted lives that we're seeing. We're seeing also, not only like you're saying, our liberal talk of, well, you're seeing things we've never seen in a museum.
Was that my voice?
No, that was mine. I write that all the time, and I just hate writing it. But what we're also seeing, and I saw it 1,000 times today on the worst day of your, 2023 weather-wise, is 1,000 different kinds of people that I'd never seen. Yeah. And I don't think Kehinde Wiley is a particularly good artist. He's the portraiturist that painted President Obama. Yeah. However, have you ever seen people look at that painting? Do you see?
Transformational.
It's transformational.
Yep.
The other painting, Amy Sherald, she's a much better artist, but that's okay right now. If Kehinde is as mediocre as I think, then he'll wash away out of art history. But right now, I couldn't be happier that he's here. And as a critic, living in a time there's no criticism. Every TV show is good. Every movie is good. If it has good subject matter, it's good art. That is not true. Is it dirty to do that?
No. We can't see the audience, so it doesn't affect anyone.
Well, you wanted to ask me something. I want to rant about critics, but go ahead.
Well, I'll expand it. Let's talk about women right now. I mean, and obviously I was making a joke before, and it was great about the Biennale. I'm sorry I didn't get to see it. You speak about women artists, and there's a whole way we talk about that in the book with quotes throughout the book in several chapters. I mean, I'd say you're a feminist. I'd say I'm a feminist. I'd say I understand how you see the world from the things you've shared and posted and written over the years. You talk about, for centuries, women were excluded from, when you said it before about will we show a woman, it's more about a woman artist at that time, excluded from learning the tools and going to these schools. And men were the geniuses, the shamans of the art, and women were the flesh that made the muses move. You list countless transformative artists like Alice Neal. I told you I had been to school and you were one of her professors also, of Kara Walker, Hilma af Klint, Francesca Woodman, another RISD person, by the way, Kusama, others. In writing about Helen Frankenthaler, you say she may have been the first artist not regularly demeaned or defanged by the label women artist. Let's talk about that, because this essay I think was about 10 years ago. A few of them are older. So what I notice is where's the world changing towards, and how do we view things when you can have a Biennale that's 90% women and the world did not end. Right. And more power to it.
Beautiful. You're really good at this. You're making me think about my own work and stuff. You cannot believe what happened to George O'Keeffe. Every criticism of her, the most positive ones would say, she is feeling the ruptures and the raptures that only a woman can feel in her deep, wombish flesh. I mean, just blithering idiocy by male critics over and over and over until they turned her into a calendar artist and a fridge magnet. She had a great sex life with a man much older than her, Stieglitz, who took great nudes of her, full frontal, everything, because she's an artist. What's the problem? I live in this body, whatever, I don't know. I have no naked pictures on my phone, by the way, because I have no security code because I don't know how to remember them. And the second...
So I'm glad you offered that, so that's good.
And she was ridiculed. No wonder she left New York and Stieglitz and lived in New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico.
Okay. Your work is not your subject matter. Your work is not your biography. Your biography and subject matter are embedded in your work. Do you understand that? So if you're writing about this loss or that trauma, we all come from trauma, or this history or that. I had a curator sidle up to me in front of some photographs of clouds saying, "Aren't these clouds amazing, Jerry? They were photographed over Ferguson, Missouri during the riots." And I looked at this person and I said, these photographs are absolutely generic, black and white, boring pictures of clouds. All of those things are on the wall label and in your wrap and the artist's mind. I have no problem that you think it's in your mind. Ask any artist what they do, and it sounds batshit. If you ask me what I do, or you what you do, it is fucking psychotic. Oh yeah, I'm trying to make the inner dimension of the triangle talk about the diaspora.
But enough about Daniel Libeskind's work.
So a couple of things, very quickly, if I'm capable of that. I could talk for 3 hours. This could go to Bruce Springsteen levels. Because I'm alone all the time. Alone, that's what writers' lives are. Fuck you. We're getting these long wall labels. And again, hats off to Michael Govan, not many long wall labels. I'll give him that, really? And they go on and on and on and on in that art form talk, and you don't know what the hell, it's all bullshit. If you get to the last sentence or two, they might go, the painter painted this about their mother or something. But the truth is, if I take a canvas, I'm illegal. Actually, I'm an illegal Estonian immigrant. Let's just say I go back to Estonia and wash a canvas in the mud of Estonia, bring it to Palestine and the Sinai, and have it baked in the sun there.
Powerful.
Very powerful. Very powerful. And then I frame it, and I put a sign that says, all my family died here. Okay? Which is true. Stalin killed every Saltz. I don't know who they are. For me, that's my normal. All of you have your traumas. I'm afraid that's your normal. Fucked up and hard as it is going to be to bear. Sorry. We can't change that. But it's going to be embedded in your work. Did I embed it in that painting? Fuck no. It's all up here and on the wall label. One last thing about this. Artists, you own the space between your work and the wall label. This is a very powerful space. And the title of your work, a huge ectoplasmic electric arc can form between them. Do you know who Duchamp was? And he put a mustache on the Mona Lisa and he called it LHOOQ. Now, I don't speak French, but we all now know that if you do speak French, saying LHOOQ says the lady has a hot ass. What he showed is that the space between this boring thing with a mustache And this very one line created a new universe. As everybody in the art world knows, 1 + 1 = 3. One new thing plus another new thing equals another thing. That's what consciousness is doing with us. It's reproducing itself. Get out of its way. It doesn't. We all know that feeling. Bob Dylan said, yeah, it's like a ghost chose me to write this song. You know? You don't know where it comes from. Get it out of the way. Let this happen. You will fail flamboyantly. The point being, I can't remember where this started, but boy, I believe that being critical of art is a way of showing art and artists respect. If you only get positive crits in your school, which is now 99% of the case, and only every review of every
Jerry's
fucking
doing
movie.
providing a great effort.
What?
We really
Yes.
appreciated Jerry's work this
Yeah,
semester.
you're doing great. Make it bigger, possibly red. Try to tell your life. Look, I love that women are in the art world in particular because I was raised in a catastrophe, just like you and you and you and you. I was raised with no mother, no sisters, no aunts, no grandmother, no nieces. My world was testosterone, Death Star, 5 brothers, 2 gangsters. Fucked, but just as fucked as your life. So bad, but that's your normal. I'm sorry, it's your normal. And for me, my whole life, Irwin, honestly, on a personal note, I wanted to know much, much more about women. I don't mean sex. I wanted to know about of them what I knew about myself.
Sure.
The I, the self, the me. And I was always horrified by the art world that I could not know. And so for me, this is a gigantic victory, that Venice Biennale, good or bad. I want to know the secret lives of the other half of the world that's been excluded for 1 million years. It's astounding.
Yeah, that was
And
great.
that will change humanity. That's consciousness deciding it has to change itself. Men did fine. We invented, a few things: Velcro, the birth control, the camera, the airplane. What?
Those are the top 3.
Those are the
Pizza,
light bulb.
pizza.
Light bulb.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the perfect inventions. You don't need explanations
Yep.
for what any of them are for. Give somebody birth control, give them a light bulb, and they know what to do. That's your art, you ugly, smelly shamans. You're living on the edge of all villages. You're in the middle of the greatest metropolis in North America, and yet you all live in your little smelly confines. You might wear a secret hat while you're working. You have a weird ritual of sweeping the floor. You're doing weird things in there to convince other people that they need the magic you're making, the useless magic you're making, to heal them. And for some reason, they do need it. I need it. You need it.
Yep.
You need their money, too. And in this art world that's 51% Republican, and I hate them. If you're a Republican, I love you. I hate that you're breaking the country that saved my family's life, and you hate me because I'm breaking it, too. So there. We have to take their money. If you're too pure to show in this institution or take that collector's money, you can't even go to museums then. This museum is run by more than 50% of the museums you go to of Republican, dirty money, okay? If you want to be like a garage band that is too pure to ever record, be my guest. But otherwise, artists have a hole in their soul where all the money goes.
Yeah. Take the money.
Let's
talk about Cindy Sherman. She's a favorite. A few that, in getting the reaction out of people, she comes to my mind, and then we'll talk about Richard Serra in a minute. I was thinking about last fall, this AI thing happened where everyone was posting these horrendous photos and it made you look like you were in a painting, and then either the morality of people realized they were co-opting other people's artwork. It went away. It was weird. It was like the ice bucket challenge. Like, it just stopped. Cindy Sherman, she's still doing these great things, and she was doing it before then, and if you're not following her, they're just wild and weird and disturbing, and they do everything. You have this great essay about her work, and say she just keeps getting better and better. I think you have a wonderful essay, an artist who only gets better. You offer 4 pointers for understanding her work. You can never see exactly who the people are in her pictures and what they're doing. She's mainly a photographer, I'd say. She had used photography as a medium to enter that guy world of art because it was an easier entry, and we know some of those photographers of that era. Her characters never want us to step into the images. You mentioned like a Dion Arbus or something where you're looking at that image and you want to inhabit that world, but she's not about that. And her pictures are like riddles. I like that you hummed your own.
That's pretty good.
Well, whoever wrote that, it's good. Let's dive into her for a minute, because I think that she's still, she's someone out there. She's on Instagram. She's relevant. She's
what was
been
the
around.
second one I said?
Second one, she had used photography as a medium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Women and outsiders have always done this. Carol Walker,
Yep.
who you went to school
Yep.
with, my student, I looked over. Do you all know who her art is? She makes cutout silhouettes of like black mammies and pickaninnies, fellatiating white plantation owners. I saw her work in 1993 at RISD or 4, I don't remember, and the back of my head felt like it caught on fire.
Yep.
I thought, just like I was thinking with women artists, I'm seeing something that's never been seen before. Never, it's in our mind. It's just like you all have terrible fantasies. It doesn't mean you're going to do all of them. Well, she was doing them.
She's like a Guillermo del Toro of that world.
Boom.
Yeah.
Mic drop. But women are left out. So what do the shamans that are left out of the tribes do? You pick up the tools that have no value. Only ladies and Negroes would do cutout silhouetting. Got it? It's a decorative art for the parlor. And then she blew it up to history painting. Mic drop. And changed the world. Women, the camera had no value at all in the late 70s and 80s. None. It's like, well, that's a commercial thing. It's black and white. The camera, it's certainly not art. We knew that unless it was high art. So all of these women, Cindy Sherman, Barbara Kruger, Louise Lawler, I could make a long list. Why are they all women? Because no one gave a shit. And they changed photography. Every single thing you see in photography, they have a little bit of a hand in. So Cindy Sherman started showing us something that simply had never been seen before. All the people that live inside women. We got to start seeing it in about the 18th century when we allowed, in the West, women to write. And the thing was, holy shit, they can't really be thinking this, can they? Miles Davis once said, if white people knew what black people were thinking, they'd be scared to death. And what's happening now is we're seeing those things. Just because you're seeing it doesn't mean you're going to be killed, die, raped, maimed, etc. So Cindy is fucking boring. A lot of times you just look at her. If you know her work, you go, there she is again. But I still think she helped change the world. It's like looking at a Richard Serra. You go, that's great. He changed what we do with steel. I'm down with that. So that's a great artist. And portraiture, another, and again, artists of color have moved back into one of the hardest and deadest of all genres, which is portraiture. I mean, because it's just a face and a background There's not much there.
Yeah, but of those two, Cindy Sherman and Sarah, and you write this, I mean, it's like a love story, this 4-page Sarah piece. So it's funny you just yawned, but you must have really been in love with him 4 years ago and has changed. And
I'm over him. It was a fling. I hated him for
his
years.
work is not about looking. You don't see a Sarah with your eyes. You take it on your whole body. Sheer excess disarms sight. You take in its weight, texture, temperature, mass, and volume with parts you didn't know you have, which is pretty powerful. But I do think the important part about those two artists we mentioned is you don't have to have that long tagline of a story. So when you go to Richard Serra, we have a friend with a 1,000-foot Richard Serra at his farm in Auckland.
Dick shit. It's a mess. If you were a
So
man,
you walk,
you
but
have
when
no
you
idea.
walk around this piece, the thing about Richard Serra is you just, when you experience a Richard Serra, you experience a Richard Serra, right? You could yawn along the way.
No, it's great.
But it is something that doesn't tell you. I don't need to know when you see we'll get an architecture because we should definitely touch upon that. When you see a Liebskin building, you need to know all the numerology and where the windows are pointed to which camp and all these kinds of things. A Richard Serra is a Richard Serra. So that's what I'm getting at, is there are those artists that the explanation is in the work and the ability to deliver that work.
True.
Okay, let's do architecture now. Since I'm from the world of anyone in architecture here? No. So
Hate
this'll
you
be
madly
fun.
right
so
there.
So you can say what's on your mind.
Hate you all. Here's what what?
Back, you're good. So Jerry famously posts Instagram videos. The most recent one, which I happily enjoyed, was the Eisenman, because that's such a piece of shit building, I would say, on that one. But as the world of architecture and museums and what it means to exhibiting art, you have some ambivalent feelings and some thoughts about that. So tell us, Jerry, some thoughts about architecture and what should architects and don't hold back.
Listen. The Eisenman building that Irwin is referring to is the Peter Eisenman Museum in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a son of the Great Lakes and a child of the Midwest, so I love going there. They have this yellow brick. I still love it. The air's gray. I just love it. You too? Yeah. And it's an atrocity. For the reason that many museums by your people, the architects, are atrocities.
Right there.
Architects think they have ideas. What I would say is what happens is you get these museums that have, they look, what I always tell architects, famous ones, I told Renzo Piano this, but he's pretty good.
Yeah.
I said, you can do anything you want with the outside of your buildings. You can make it look like a pharmaceutical company from Hamburg, which is great. Nice. It looks like the Whitney looks like that, or a boat. But on the inside, I always tell them, museums are built on the sweat and the backs of art and artists. You cannot keep building these gargantuan atria that has to be filled with mediocrity and heated and cooled in perpetuity. These huge atrium, giant staircases, destination staircases, great like walls of windows where you cannot hang any art near windows at all because it bleaches them out, and it also takes 50% of the space away. MoMA spent $1 billion in 2004 to build a shiny new building. Again, I don't care what they look like from the outside. You like architecture, do what the fuck you want. I don't care. Really, I know I sound like a jerk, but I get so upset about this. On the inside, they forgot to build more space for the permanent collection, the greatest permanent collection of modernism on the planet Earth and ever will be. They didn't build another square foot. They forgot the project space, God forbid, for artists. Mm-hmm. They didn't build a real loading dock. And then your friends Diller and Scafidio come in, and they build a lot of places where people can look at other people looking at people looking at people.
I love that.
Loves it. Fucking architects love it. Give me some glass. Let's make some staircases. Let's do some risers. Huge spaces for entertainment. more than half the space is lost to these people. And I've been writing design. I think that Frank Gehry should design. Frank Gehry and Zaha Hadid. Frank Gehry should
Zaha's
design.
dead, but yes.
Frank Gehry should design every mall in America, and I mean that as a huge tribute. It would change the world as much as Kehinde Wiley is changing the world. I know. I mean that in a positive way.
Your derision of Kehinde Wiley 40 minutes ago is not
And
forgotten.
I think that Zaha, what was her name?
Hadid.
Hadid,
Yes.
should have built every airport.
Good.
I mean, these people were geniuses, but not our museums. Take your mitts off our museums. Just build some fucking rooms, you know? Sorry, I went too far. I had you, and I went too far. Okay.
So you talk about, there's two essays you write, one just before 9/11, I noticed, like a week before 9/11 and a week after. The second one is In Keeping the Faith, and it's talking about after 9/11, and many said, how can you think of art at a time like this? Art can appear insignificant when the world gets crazy, You say art only knows how to handle the good times and the bad. You quote Adorno, who famously wrote, poetry after Auschwitz, it's become impossible. Suffice it to say, we have felt like, I think in this room, it's great to see actual people, we felt like we've been living with some crazy years with the last administration in Washington, with the COVID outbreak and all the things we went through. The craziness has not gone away. What's the reaction you think? What is this role for the artist right now?
Really good, and I'll try to do it short now. And
You can get angry on this
grateful.
one.
First of all, when Adorno said there can be no poetry after Auschwitz, I wrote in that essay, my God, man, that very comment is poetic.
Yes.
It's you're fucked. Don't say that. Painting is dead. The novel is dead. It's like the art world marches around being a mortician. You know, everything's dead. You know, the author is dead. As soon as women and artists of color and outsiders showed up, the art world went, too late. The author is dead. America did not change, as Irwin is pointing out. America became more of what it already was, the arc of history. We believed in 2001 on September 11th in what we used to call the context of no context, that everything was happening to everybody everywhere at the same time in more or less the same way. We believed in a thing about neoliberalism called the end of history, that the arc of justice had finally resolved itself in the probable ongoing democracies in the world. And then one iceberg of context slammed into another. And instead of change, which everybody said it would bring, I think I wrote in that essay, I think that nothing will change that will become more of what we already were. Mm-hmm. And after the Bush-Cheney war machines, 8 years of that, and then this titillating taste of maybe the arc of justice going to the good with Obama, and then the re-onset of the long American night, when the nascent American mind has risen up, and it will not go away. Only the next generations can make it go away. My generation is stuck having the same argument. So I don't remember what the question was. The point is, all of this is in spin, and I tell you, it's happened. It's already happened. It's not like it's going to happening. It's happened. The art history, no one's ever gone back to what that was in the art world.
Yep. I'll end with a quote. I'll keep it positive so we can ask some questions. I'm sure there's some from the audience. At the end, in the Whole Ball of Wax essay, you say, in concert with other things, however, art can change the world incrementally and by osmosis. You go on to say, art is an energy source that helps make change possible. It sees things in cluster sand constellations rather than rigid systems. Art is about experience. Art creates new thought structures. You say it can't do things like stop AIDS. It can't do things like change climate change. It can't do the scientific things, of course, but it has the power, and that's, I think, why you have this audience here and people reading this book is the importance of that.
Thank you. I I don't think that art is any more or less important than philosophy, psychology, economics, whatever. I don't think it's just the decorative bush in front of the citadel on the hill of knowledge at all. I think that it's been with us since the beginning. For some reason, it's still here. It's not done with us. Art will die when all the things it was devised to address have been addressed. And then it will go away. It's just like a lot of movements go away. Like there was a thing called zombie formalism in the 2000s where everybody made formal paintings that looked like the old formal It's a bit like Nepo babies.
Yeah,
These were the Nepo babies of painting. These were paintings. We love Nepo children of stars because they look vaguely like the star.
They got the name and everything.
It's like then when you're looking at Michael Douglas, you're also looking at Kirk Douglas.
Right. Yeah.
And then now there's a kick in for his wife, and then she's married. It's all good stuff. We love the access to the idolatry of fame and the other, and so we have paintings that look like formalist paintings. And I always yell at these dealers. I go, do you really like this? Isn't it kind of boring? You're doing a brown painting, all monochrome, and hers is magenta. And what is going on? So how did I get here? What was the question?
The question of the power of art to change things, really.
That was the power of art not to change. Mm-hmm. That was the power. That was art trying not to change by becoming like other art. All I want you to do is just be you. As Louise, and I'll finish this way. Louise Bourgeois, I'll finish with two things. Louise Bourgeois said, if you tell your own story, you will be interesting. Because whenever I ask anyone in any museum, what do you think? They blow my mind. It's mind-boggling. And if we all told each other's stories, insane. If you can embed 1% of 1% of that in the material of your work, you're good. The other thing I would just say is this, about who you are. How many people here own dogs? What's your dog's name? What? Olive?
Olive.
You? Edie? That's a cat name. I love you. What's your dog's name? Jesse? Wilton. Okay, here. That's a fucking dog name. If you go to Wilton, and then I'll be finished. If you come up to Wilton and go, come here, Wilton. Wilton, is he a big dog? Don't answer, just say yes. Okay, great. Men, we're just going to go on. And in the questions, men, don't go psychotic. Just ask a damn question. Don't make a statement, okay? You called Wilford or Wilbur?
Wilson.
Wilson.
Yeah.
That's pretty good from Castaway. Wilson, come here. Come here. And then Wilson comes up to you and goes, and slobbers on you, and all this stuff is happening. You've had direct communication with another species. How many people here own cats? What's your cat's name in white there? Atticus.
Nice name. Wow.
Atticus. Where I saw hands, we can't see. Yes? Olivia. That's a great cat name. Yes. What? What is
Raoul?
it? Raoul.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Cat name?
Yeah.
Could
like
be a
Hispanic cat.
Yeah. Yes. The cat lovers love telling the names. Yes? What?
Zoidberg?
What do you call Zoidberg around the house?
Zoidberg.
What's a storyboard? I don't know. L.A., man. So you go to Olive, and you go, come here, Olive. And what Olive will do is something quite interesting, as opposed to Wilbur, or whatever, Wilson. Olive will do something, forgive me, if you're there,
right.
this is what Olive will do. Go like this, look at you, maybe walk around and go like this.
Yeah, right.
And then go over here and turn away, flick its tail, and that. What I want to tell all you is, do you see what happened there? Unlike Wilson, who's got his head right here and you're full with slobber, and he's very needy, and if it's just a mess.
Like cat couldn't get
Olive put a third thing, the table, and the dance, the choreography of this thing, put a third thing between you and itself to communicate. Artists, you are cats. You are putting this in a gallery going, love me forever for the rest of time and send me to Venice. I want first-class tickets and good hotels. I want articles written on me. Dogs don't do that. So anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry, for that
Thank
so
you,
far.
Irwin. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ted.
Time for
great.
some audience questions. Just a quick reminder, around here, questions typically begin with a W or an H, sometimes a D. Questions are typically short. We do not believe in two-part questions. And tonight, only Irwin Miller gets to ask the follow-up questions. Sir.
Yeah. Well, keep it a question, no damn statements.
At
And
RISD,
men, that's especially against you.
I'm going to make this one short and quick. At RISD, I had Gwen Strawley and Mahler Ryder. Walt Mahler Ryder, African-American, amazing teacher, and Gwen was an amazing drawing teacher. And this is, anticipating some of the stuff you guys are talking about and the period of things that have happened. And I just want to say, do you guys, remember her
Is
and
this
him?
a statement?
That was the question?
You're
You just
making
broke
a s-
every
No,
rule
wait.
of question asking in your. By the
Man.
way, it's very nice. They're good people. But
You're a good writer. Ask a question. Go. He doesn't have a
Just
question.
do you remember what great teachers they were and that they were part of this,
Yes.
He-
burgeoning,
they were great teachers. Gwen was
burgeoning
great.
movement.
I didn't know them. You were there.
Yes.
Answer. He's a genius. He went to Harvard, for
Yes,
God's sake.
they were great teachers. Thank you. Yes.
No, but say something.
No, I don't have anything beyond.
I love you.
I appreciate that.
No, it was a
Thank you.
statement. It was
Beautiful.
a statement.
Yeah, I mean, you did break every one of Ted's rules, so we have to ding you there. But
You don't
we'll
pick,
talk after.
Ted, you don't pick men first. It's never, he's the best looking here, but that's it. Okay.
All right, as I
Thank
work
you.
my way over to the next question, would you comment on NFTs, please?
Real simple. NFT is a tool, motherfuckers. It's a tool not unlike the pencil, the camera, the lithograph. It's a tool. Someday there could be a Francis Bacon of NFTs. So far, it's a space dominated mainly by men. Most of it's shite. It's a great way for artists to make some money, but not the big money. Beeple made $39 million. We all hate him for that. But many artists are making $200 here, $600 there, $300 there. Go for it. AI is much more interesting to me because of the language interface rather than NFTs. So before you put down NFTs, make one. I did to see what they are. I made one and I sold it. Wait, ask for how much?
How much?
$100,000.
Nice.
Before you hate me,
What did you do with that money, Jerry? Irwin asked to follow up.
I understood that as an art critic, I would have to be necessarily hated, like an architect, for moving in on the backs of artists,
Catching a lot of flack here.
for moving in on art and then cleaning up. That's not fair. I understood that before I made the thing, so I announced I would give all the money to Sloan Kettering. It's a cancer hospital in
Very
New
nice.
York.
Nice.
So I made it. it went here, somewhere into this device in my pocket, right? And then I forgot the 16-word password. It sat here. Nobody could get it out. And then somebody cracked the code, and I sent it to them. So just make one before you hate one, okay? So that's what I think of NFTs. What do you think of it? Anybody here make them? Yeah. You ever sell one? Yeah. How much? Ballpark, don't lie.
I sold other people's. He sold other people's. You sold the Trump ones, or is it?
Well, we hate you, but congratulations. We're Americans. We must want money and hate anybody else with it. Okay, next.
This is really simplistic, but I work in kids' entertainment. And so to me, I always feel like I'm looking at...
Oh, there, I see you.
You work in kids' entertainment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kids.
And so, yeah, woo.
I hate children, but I love people that have them. I think the children of artists have the best lives on the planet.
And people
Not the
who
artists
make
so
kids
much.
stuff usually like kids like the least. It's very funny. There's a story. There was an article in the Times about it. Anyway, the question is,
Do I
it's very
not
simplistic,
fuck up
but
everything?
just sort.
You keep going. No, you keep going.
Anyway,
I'm shushing Jerry.
Me.
that's okay. When you look at art, because I think we all look at art and think, what the hell is that, or what is this, or I don't understand what. Are there three things as a critic?
Yeah.
Because I spend my day criticizing people, which is so much fun, and you can break it down to three things of what I'm looking at. Like I know I'm looking at this, 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 and this. Those are the top three things that I'm always looking for, so I can give an
That's a
instant.
great question.
What are the three things you would suggest? You're taking a kid to a museum, they're looking at something, and please just don't say, how does it make you feel?
Right.
Anything but how does it make you feel?
That to me is not very interesting. Your question is very interesting. I'm not going to answer for children. I'm going to answer for the child that I am. I'm going to say, get very, very quiet inside. Let down the hologram of your terror and anger. Like you come up to like a Jeff Koons and you begin hating it even before you were before you're around it. So you haven't. Proust said any reader is of any book is reading themselves. You're always reading yourself. Art is the silent thing. Architecture is. Even music is silent because whatever it's doing to you, it's doing in its language. Get very quiet. Set aside. Don't be a high priest of any idea. Never be wed. You can put all these into one point. Never be wed to an idea. Be willing to get rid of it the minute you're finding it wrong. Okay, so get very quiet and you go, okay, I know I don't understand this, but we don't understand Mozart. You don't understand ABBA, for fuck's sake. You experience it, you dwell in it, you let it inhabit you. You just kind of go with it for those few seconds. It's not that long. Art is the shortest delivery system almost of them all, right? Bang, I saw that show. Get very quiet, set aside all assumptions, then look through the subject matter. Make subject matter the first thing you see, and then see if you can do this. All crucifixions are not the same, right? Each one is different. One is like this, beautiful. The other's like this, right? And you ask yourself, not about the subject matter. You ask, how was this made? What is this doing to me? Dolly Parton wrote Jolene. And it has the exact same three chords as all country music. It has the same exact time signature. And all she did was embed the secret life of women into the song by saying, Jolene, Jolene, please don't take him just because you can. Nobody had ever said that before. I could never compete with you. These very simple things that inhabited the skyscraper of the genre that you're looking at. So get quiet, look through it. And the other thing I would say is ask other people around you. If I'm going to keep it real simple, what do you see when you see it? And try to see as much as you can, and don't judge it too quick. Your judgment is the least interesting part to me. You see a lot of sweaters when you walk through the department store. You're not going, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. You're just thinking, that one doesn't do it, this one, and then you want to know why it's doing it. It's just shopping. It's like fishing. Wait for a response. I haven't answered anything you don't already know. And nobody is stupid about art. You'd be shocked at what smart things I hear in museums. And the art will never cares.
There's as a follow-up, there's a comment of you mentioned this Japanese phrase of like it's not understanding something or simplifying. What was the term, if you're remembering correctly? It was something like when you approach things, you simplify the way you look at things. I can find the quote after.
Great.
But it was embodied in what you just said. Yes.
That's great.
I'm wondering if Jerry read this book is what I'm wondering. But
we never look at our own work.
Exactly.
It's like looking at yourself in the mirror, you go, who the hell's that?
But it was that.
Next question over here on your right.
Great.
I'm an architect and I teach architecture.
Where are you?
Oh, right here.
Oh, okay.
And I've used the Wexner project as an example of bad architecture, but I also believe
Which project did you use?
the Wexner Center, Peter
The
Eisenman's
Wexner
project.
Center.
Yeah.
We all agree it's bad. I agree. Okay.
But and I also think that 85% of architecture is atrocious.
Yeah.
But do you not see architecture as an art form in of itself that gets the same, let's say, criticism, critique that you give to other art forms, but also deserve the same grace?
Oh, wow, yeah. Architecture is a great, great, great art. The problem is no architecture critics are saying what they don't like. They're playing with the system. They all go, look, honest to God, the Govan building that you all hate, I wouldn't know what it's going to be. But the one that's going to get built or the one you love, they knew about that building for 7 years.
This is the new LACMA building by Peter Zumthor.
Oh, did I say the wrong?
No, you got it.
LACMA
I'm giving
building,
him
whether you
background.
like it or hate it. No one criticized it for 7 years, and every detail of the building was more or less known. And then the second they did the signing ceremony, everybody says, well, it's a bad museum. In New York, it was much worse. We built Hudson Yards, the biggest land, And how this happened is for 15 years, we had every plan on the books, everything, and not one architecture critic spoke against it until after it was built. And architect critics always say, well, I couldn't really do much about it. And I always say, what I say in the green rooms when I'm on CNN, I've gone on Fox. There's real secrets to doing Fox. You decide you're going to say 3 things, and no matter what they say to you, if they go, well, how was the weather today, Jerry? You go, it was orange. I was thinking about the orange problem. You never let them do anything, and anyway, in these, in the green rooms, on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, always the same. I talk to these Republicans, and they all know it's all a lie. Every word, they all know. And I always say, well, I hate you and you hate me, but why don't you just get up there and say, it's a lie? And they go, well, Jer, we couldn't. Why would I do that? It can't alter one thing. It can't do anything. And by the way, this goes for liberals or progressives too. All the people on MSNBC that you watch, they know they have notes, recordings, interviews, video of every Republican saying shit about the lie. And I always say to these producers and the anchors, I go, why don't you just give it up? Well, Jerry, we wouldn't affect any votes. I say to all of them, you've never affected a vote in your life. Not 1 minute of programming. is going to change anything. I said you do it because you love your country. And you would do it with architecture because you love your art. And you do it as a critic because you love art. You don't tear somebody a new one and get medieval on them if they're a young artist. You just say what you do and you don't like. Architects, just beware of giant scale. It's seduced 2 or 3 generations. Let's build buildings for each other, not giant masses, as if we're these new totalitarian, eco-states. Okay? Next.
Hi, Jerry. It's Irene.
Where are you?
Oh, hi.
Okay. Are you going to Felix and are you going to Freeze?
Am I going to
Felix and Freeze.
I so wanted to go. I begged them to invite me back. They brought me to Felix last time, paid
You should
for
tell
me.
everyone what Felix is.
Oh, Felix is a great. How would you describe Felix? Art fair at the Roosevelt Hotel where I'm staying. Come and visit me. I'm sitting around the best pool in the United States. Even in the rain, it's a David Hockney pool, so I have to commune with the ancestors. I asked them to bring me again, nudging them, and it just doesn't make any economic sense. Critics, they don't send me to Documenta, Venice, they don't send me to Brooklyn. That's why New York critics tend to cover New York. I love that you guys are having these art fairs, even though they make us insane. They're great places, especially post-pandemic, to touch antenna. You pass the pheromones. They're time machines where you speed up relationships that would take 5 years to develop into 5 hours, where you have a giant fight, you love somebody, then you, like breaking up with somebody. Like one night you're like dancing, and then you have a huge fight, you swear you're never gonna see each other, then you have breakfast at the Waffle House the next morning. That's life. Are you gonna go to the art fairs? Go. We can put them down, they're atrocities, but 50, more than that, 70% of our beloved galleries, and those are my favorite places in the art world because they show art for free. I don't have to pay there. I go to 25 or 30 shows a week in New York because that's my beat. You understand? I try to cover as much as I can. Now you have curators, directors, critics, whoever else, going halfway around the world, to Hong Kong or to Venice or to Basel or to London to see galleries that they will not visit in their home city. You understand that you have galleries here that could die on the vine when your directors and critics especially and curators are the weak link in this. They'll travel around the world and not go to your galleries. This is why I want LA to steal the thunder of the Miami Art Fair, although the body types in Miami are insane. Your plastic surgery is like light years better. They're
I
insane.
was hoping you'd say that as a compliment at the end.
Oh, it's
I thought you said that.
huge how beautiful you are to me. But have you ever been to Miami? Have you gone to that one? It's insane. You go, every man is like, this is all wrong, and every woman is like, this is all wrong, and it just drives you mad. And they're beautiful. Why am I talking this way? I love you all for coming.
Next question.
Yes.
There can be a couple more. I could do this all night. You can go. I won't ruin your career. We'll take selfies later. If you leave, I won't ruin your career. We'll take selfies later, okay? You'll post them on Instagram, you'll get a job, or you'll get fired. Yes.
Hey, Jerry, thank you for saying all of that. My question is that since you know a lot about art,
Yes.
I feel like anyways, I'm more interested about art frauds. In your personal opinion, do you have any people in mind
Okay.
in the art world?
He used an expression, art brut,
Fraud.
B-R-U-T. I would now say a couple things. That means outsider art. Art brut is very, very specific.
I'm sorry, fraud. Fraud.
Fraud in art.
Oh, fraud.
I'm so sorry.
I have hearing aids, and over the hearing aid is like a TED Talk thing. I don't know what's going on. Fraud in art. I can't afford to own art. So I buy perfect bootlegs of the art I love. I live with the great fake Alice Neal. I live with a great fake Kusama, Christopher Wole. I can't remember. A Picasso. I have a weeping fucking woman. But I don't think that's the fraud you're talking about. I was the only person by accident. I looked at the Christie's $430 million Fishy Da Vinci. Salvatore Mundi. Did you see that movie? Yeah. I'm like the sad clown in the movie. And everybody else is talking about this is the greatest holy grail, more expensive than a petrochemical plant. That was their fucking quote. Sorry, I swear, I get nervous. I don't do this in my head. I looked at it the same way you would have as an artist and go, it's pretty dead. It has no physical life at all. And Leonardo was now up against, in 1501, Leonardo was the most famous artist on earth at that point. Very well known, working for the princes, the popes, the works. And this is competitive. A young kid named Michelangelo was in town in Florence. Leonardo moves back. Michelangelo has just finished the Pietà that is in the Vatican, and he's working on the David. In fact, Leonardo voted against putting the David in public because he's an artist. Artists are competitive. It's like when his vote came in the Florence Guild Council, he went, I just think it's too fragile to put outside. Maybe put it in one of the
collection, one of the back rooms behind a stair.
Put it in the Uffizi, the offices. You know, everybody will come.
Yeah.
He would never have painted such a conservative painting that year. That's the first thing I realized. He knew what he was up against. Vasari was around, and it was a problem already. Everybody said, who cares about the old? And then the provenance of the most famous artist on earth suddenly doesn't exist. That's very rare. It's 1 in a trillion when you're that famous and it all disappears.
Painted that few paintings in your life, too. And painted that few paintings.
Yes, very few. And anyway, it turned out I was right. By accident, and I again asked all the art historians, why did you say it's real? Well, they brought me to London, and then Washington, and then Paris. And I don't know, I just kind of went along with it. And already it's being demoted from Leonardo da Vinci to be thought to have been touched by Leonardo. And by the time you're my age, it'll go from School of Leonardo, painted in the 16th century, Italian, and then it'll finally say what it should have said, New Orleans, where they found the painting. So that's one kind of fraud. And to finish, what kind of fraud are you talking about?
I'm talking about like fraud that do you believe in their work that they're putting out, or do you feel like there's artists amongst the contemporary art world right now?
I never question an artist's motives. Do you know that I know Jeff Koons a little? I haven't talked to him in 15, 20 years. He is like a Teletubby. You've seen him speak. He sounds like Ronald Reagan. This painting is about Ilona Stoller's asshole being the solar center of the universe, Jerry. And you go, whatever. Jeff Koons has made some great art, and he could do it again. He could easily do it again. I saw a piece about 8 or 9 years ago that was great, and I've loved some of his pieces. I never question if this is a fraud to the artist. I actually believe that every artist is doing whatever they have to make. Is that answering the fraud one yet, or still haven't gotten to the right definition?
I mean, yes and no, but I'm just saying, if there's an artist that you don't feel like is putting the what's the word I'm looking for? I'm like blanking because we're talking now.
Yeah. Effort or faith?
Effort, or like, I need a right click to thesaurus, another word for meaning, authenticity.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is important. It's really good that we got here. Oscar Wilde, I pledge allegiance to Oscar Wilde. I can tell you which 2 essays to read and nothing, said all bad poetry is sincere. Authenticity of feeling, sincerity of feeling, nothing to do with anything. Nothing to do with anything. So don't even bother asking about authenticity or sincerity. I promise you, Republicans think they're doing the right thing. They're actually sincere about this, that they're saving the world from you. I think we're saving the world from them. But don't get rid of the word fraud. Make an enemy of envy and then kill the cynicism that lives in you. It is very hard for your generations to go to galleries and museums now because the obscene amounts of money that are being spent on art. You walk into like one of the mega gallery Death Stars that like point at you. It's hard to walk into Hauser Wirth or Zwerner or Larry Gagosian. These people have 24 locations around the world. The sun never sets on them. It's hard to walk in there and not go, God, is this weird? This is like the orgy scene in Eyes Wide Shut. It's just something is creepy about it. What you have to do is a big gallery is no better and no worse than a little hole. Honestly, you have to get rid of all those categories because those categories are ones that you're bringing. Proust said you're reading yourself. So when you go into Larry Gagosian, get jealous, look at the beautiful girl or boy behind the desk and wish you could be that way, but be aware that they're as poor as you are. They have dirty laundry on their floor. They're paid very little. They probably don't have insurance. They went to art school. They love art, exactly like you, but they're being watched. Every person in every gallery is being watched almost every second because it's somebody like that idiot Jerry Saltz walks in and you didn't notice. You're in trouble. And I always say to people that work in the desks now, I whisper to them when I come in, this is going to sound egotistical, I say, don't tell the dealer I'm here. Because the dealer then comes on and goes, hi Jerry, I wanted to show you this, and like Eli Broad was shopping for this, and then, David Govan, Michael Govan was here, I think we're going to show him. And I always look at dealers now and go, stop talking, I can't hear myself see. You can't do it if somebody's talking to you. So get rid of the cynicism in the art world. Get rid of it. It's not helping you. It will eat your work alive and it makes you a buzzkill. Honestly, because cynicism thinks it knows. I'm almost done with this. You cannot know anything about the other. You will die not knowing your own spouses. Not quite. Not quite. You don't know why this one gets a show and that one doesn't. Why this happened and that didn't. You just don't know. So if you let those categories go, it is so fun in the art world. You can be a glockenspiel like me, who did not start writing a word in his life till he's 41 years old, writing it absolutely wrong, dumb, and out loud. Writing and seeing out loud. Taking a lot of criticism. I've never been asked to write for art forum, and now at this age I think, I understand why. I'd be stupid there. It would just make no sense. I'm not speaking in that language, okay, in that dialect, in that syntax. You'll be who you are. Do you need a giant audience? Some people do. I always thought, I want everyone to read me. In a way, that meant that freed me to not worry about anything. As an artist, you might just need 100 people to like your work. You know something? You only need one gallerist to make a career, 2 critics, so you have to fool 3 people, and at most 4 collectors. 4, who will support you through your good work and your bad, your mediocre and your changes. If you can pull the wool over 10 Republicans' eyes, you can have what I want you to have more than anything in this world, which is a life lived in art. That's what we're here for. All the rest is fun. The sexiness of a 30-month career, the money, getting into restaurants, being in the magazines. It's sexy. It's fun. I want you to have that, but I'm more interested in you having a 30-year career.
And our final question for the evening.
Thank you.
Hey, Jerry. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I
Thank
don't think I'm the only one in here that enjoys watching you wrestle with your caffeine addiction. I wanted to ask, do you think that
Where's the
vice is
t-shirt?
inextricable from creative practice?
Okay. T-shirts.
Wait, could you ask that again?
Oh, yeah. Do you think that vice is inextricable from creative practice?
I think they're the same thing. I think your vice is your practice, is your vice. It's an addiction. Do you think it's separate? How can you separate? Only men think things are separate. I'm convinced that you can have no feeling without a thought, and you can have no thought without a feeling. Did I say that right? And Irwin made this for me, and I'm going to start wearing these things. Look at this. And the whole art world went insane when they saw that I get this. If you post this on Instagram, I'll show you some art respect. Huh? Yes, I don't know how to make coffee because my life started late, just like yours. I didn't start till I was 40. I'm in a race against time because I'm not going to get done what I want done. Neither are you. So I built a life that was for work and work and work and work. My wife is a much better art critic than I am. Her name is Roberta Smith. And both of us see our shows, and when all of you are at openings, and you have to go out. I'm going to finish this with a little pep talk. We're all, do you mind, Irwin, that I'm doing this? I look like Trump, and this is Hillary now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the back of you.
What a mess. We're all bashful. I don't seem bashful, but I'm psychopathically shy. You don't know that because I'm covering for it. I haven't had a sit-down dinner with a group of people for more than 10 years. Why? Makes me uncomfortable. And one of the reasons I decided I had to become, quote, famous was so I didn't have to go out anymore. I thought there's only one way. But to get there, artists are vampires. All creative people are vampires. They must be in covens or covens. I don't know. They must be around other vampires. You must be around others of your own kind as often as possible, daily, if it's possible, online and in text, absolutely daily. You must touch the antenna, pass the pheromones, like I'm saying. You are developing new dialects with your friends. You must go out. The only things that happen to people are the people that go out. If you don't go out, I'm sorry. I hate going out. I'm jumping out, so are you. We're jumping out of our skins in these galleries, right? Like, I'm no good, I'm too short. I'm only short when I'm in public. By the way, at home, yeah, do you have this? No. I'm walking around my house like I never knew I was short until the iPhone came out, and I saw these pictures of this tiny thing with people, normal size, and I went, shit, I'm short. I didn't know I was bald until then. I never saw myself that way. You have to show up, and you have to try to touch and reach and talk to other people. Artists, the most important people to you, writers, creative people, are other people like yourselves. You cannot buy that. They have to be able to tell you when the idea you've got may not be working or when it might be working. You must form gangs. You must protect each other in these small gangs at all costs. You protect the weakest above all. So you think she's the weakest, but she thinks she's the weakest, and she thinks I'm the weakest. That's why you can never break ranks, ever. Never do that thing like, well, Alice's work is, I just hang around her. Never. Don't break. Go to the openings. I'm sorry. It all looks so cool, and you're so uncool. Well, so am I. And if you're short, it's really a mess. Because people get uncomfortable around short people, and men, and bald people. Women now talk to me, they look like this. And I'm always saying, just stand up, I already know, okay? All of us have all this terrible inner life going, but if you go out and when you come home, you will be a better person for it. So show the fuck up. If you don't, sorry. And the most important thing of all is work, 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 you big babies. You have to work. If you don't work, I'm letting you go in a minute. If you don't work, I'm not interested. Sorry. I'm in a race against time. I'm too old now to care. You have a great idea. You don't have the money to do it. You don't have the time. You don't have the space. Sorry, I don't either. No one's ever touched my Instagram account. I do it with these two thumbs. Don't know what the fuck I'm doing. If I block you by accident, which happens daily, I have to block 100 right-wing haters and anti-Semites and insane people and bots. I don't know how to unblock you. I don't know how to do anything. You don't either. Do you know how to do anything? Nothing. I've met the people at the top of the mainframe of the corporation. Nobody knows really what they're doing. We're all learning on the job. We're making this up as we go. That's all. Make bad art for me. Is it so hard to make your mediocre work? Is it that hard, for fuck's sake? I make my mediocre work. Now I do it 2 or 3 times a day on this stupid best machine in the world, right? Where all the knowledge of known history is in my pocket, and I get a bad idea while sitting in an Uber, and I talk to the thing, and I make this thing up, and the next thing I know, it's out in the world. I've said something stupid. I've said something wrong. Do I have power? I do not. No one's thinking of anybody. You can do anything. You're freedom machines, my love. You were born freedom machines. Why give that up? Just because of this or that. Your traumas are horrible. But you got here. You made it here on a rainy night. And already, to me, that's an accomplishment. Anyway, I could talk forever because I, like you, am alone 99% of the time. And it makes you squirrely. But you will see things. What's that thing that guy said in Blade Runner? I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships off the shores of Horizon, whatever. The Tannhäuser Gate, it's nonsense. But you will create a world. Reality, it turns out, is not that interesting to us. The most stupid criticism I ever read is about stories is when people go, well, it didn't really make much sense. And I thought, well, who cares? Who cares? We're making this up to see if this thing that we made up can take us to the third new thing. We're not that interested as a species in reality. This is all. We'll take selfies together. I love you for listening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.